Hello and welcome to another edition of Midnight Mania Sports. Once again alongside George Hathaway, my name is Austin Nakuda. Excited to have you with us and thank you for tuning in. Joining us now over the phone on Midnight Mania Sports is baseball statistician, writer, author, as well as United States Marine, Ryan Spaeder. Ryan, first of all, thank you for your service and thank you for joining us here on the show.
I appreciate it. It's very kind of you, and thank you very much for having me.
So Ryan, our first question for you is when and how did you fall in love with the game of baseball?
Oh, gosh. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and I recall my father, when I grew up, my parents didn't have much money. We ate SpaghettiOs 6 nights a week. But my father had a friend who was pretty well off. He had real nice seats to Phillies games, and gave my father the tickets one time, and they were catty corner to where the tarp meet the stands, right?
Right.
And it was like a foul ball haven, and we ended up getting like 4 foul balls during the game. But this one particular moment, there was an injury, and during the injury, the pitcher's not allowed to throw pitches to the catcher, but he can play catch with the first baseman, and he was doing so with Rico Bronya. And Rico missed one of the balls, and they ended up right in that little catty corner, and I was reaching for the ball. I couldn't quite reach it. So my father hung me out over the fence to try to get the ball and dropped me on the field. And then Rico Bronya ran over, picked me up, handed me the baseball, and gave me back to my father. And then he went on to hit a go-ahead home run later that evening. And I think that was my moment where I'm like, all right, baseball's my thing. I love this.
That's awesome.
Hi, Ryan. This is George. How do you come up with these interesting or sometimes strange stats?
Oh, man. Did you ever see The Hangover?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know the scene where Alan's at the blackjack table and there's just numbers going around his head?
Yes.
And formulas and stuff?
Right.
That's kind of like me watching a baseball game. I don't know where it comes from. It just comes out of nowhere, and I see something, and a lot of times I associate it with something else, and then I do a lot of what I call tree branch thinking, where I'm associating something with something else, and then I end up with a conclusion that is far gone from what the original thought was. And fortunately for me, I guess some people seem to like some of the stuff that I put together.
That's great.
So what motivated you to write your book, The Incredible Baseball Stats Book?
So the first go-round, because there's 2 versions out now, but the first time I was sitting on about 3 years worth of research, and I kind of was just like, I should try writing a book. And I had no idea how to go about that. Fortunately for me, I had a roommate who had a friend who wrote a book. And my roommate's friend was Kevin Reed, who, of course, is my co-author. And I finally convinced my roommate to hook me up with his buddy Kevin. We thought that it was a hell of an idea, and he wanted to be a part of it, and I was all about it because I don't consider myself that strong of a writer. Kevin's an excellent writer. You know, I'm more of a numbers guy. And so we decided to do it together. And then the next morning, after the hangover subsided, we decided to put together a chapter on the Royals because at the time the Royals hadn't won the World Series that they would go on to win in 2017. And our school thought was if we can get the publisher into the Royals, then we can get absolutely any baseball fan into any team. We made a contract for the book 2 days later.
That's awesome. And, I follow a lot of baseball stats, a lot of baseball stat guys on Twitter, and you see a lot of people aren't focusing on batting average anymore. They're looking at WAR and OPS now. In your personal opinion, does batting average still hold much weight to you?
I think you've got to look at it situationally. I'm a fan of batting average, but only in certain circumstances. And this is not to say I think there's some nostalgia that comes with the Triple Crown. That's always going to be something cool. Mm-hmm. You lead the league in batting average, home runs, and RBI. That's always going to be cool. But as far as batting average goes, from an analytical standpoint, I think you've got to look at it situationally. What's a guy's batting average when he's batting with 2 outs, runners in scoring position? Those types of things. I don't think as a whole it brings all that much value, and I think for the large part that's been proven. Having said that, when you got a guy who's so good that his batting average would otherwise be a good on-base percentage, well, that's pretty damn good too.
Yeah, one of the guys, too, that you look at is Bryce Harper, who holds a .260 batting average, but with runners in scoring position, he's much better. So he's one of the guys that you focus on WAR and OPS with.
Yeah, Harper it was an interesting season, and truthfully, I would, what he did with runners in scoring position and men on base was kind of what I would expect from him overall. When you look at what he did with the bases empty, it was really largely disappointing because you'd like to see him get on base a little bit more and sort of be a spark plug when he's not in a situation or an opportunity where he can drive in runs. And going forward, I think, or perhaps as a Philly fan, I hope we're going to start seeing Harper put up those types of numbers that we saw in his 22-year-old, I believe, MVP season.
Ryan, you're a baseball fan, so if you were the MLB commissioner, what is one change that you would implement right away?
Well, a shameless plug here. It's my pinned tweet right now. The postseason. I think it should be more inclusive. I think doing so would bring more fans into baseball. I use the Arizona Diamondbacks as an example. Diamondbacks fans were checked out 5 weeks remaining in the season because they were hanging around 500. They weren't going to make the postseason, and Kyler Murray was coming up as the Cardinals quarterback, so nobody was interested in the Diamondbacks anymore. He switched the model, the postseason model that I did, where 8 teams are making it either side, and of course there's a number of other things that I would like to add to that. 32 teams, 2 leagues, so on and so forth. But if you switch to that type of model where you're looking at almost like a March Madness, where you got a 16-team tournament. I think that would generate a lot more interest in baseball, but I think that's something that's going to be a more timely process. I think the first thing I'd like to see go is interleague play. I think it causes a great imbalance in team schedule when you've got one team's playing 10% of their games against the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Rays, and then another team's playing 10% of their games against the Royals and the Tigers and the Indians or something. It's not really fair. Because of the existence of the wild card, and I think because of that schedule imbalance, it's all the more reason to expand on the playoffs.
And this next question, Ryan, you've done a lot of campaigning for underappreciated players and guys who should have been in the Hall of Fame long ago, but like guys like Tim Raines who took a while to get into the Hall of Fame. Who do you feel is the most underappreciated player that you've ever researched or helped campaign for?
I can't really give you one name. Of course, Tim Raines and Edgar Martinez, given they took all their ballots to get on, were severely underappreciated. I think we're seeing a lot of that with Larry Walker. We'll continue seeing it with Scott Rowland. But I'm going to throw you guys a curveball, somebody who was underappreciated in their time versus at the end of their career, and that's Wade Boggs. If you look at the numbers that he put up in the 80s, they're remarkable. I mean, Wade Boggs didn't get until Ichiro got 3,000 hits. Wade Boggs was let me phrase this correctly. He was at the time of his debut, the oldest to then go on to have 3,000 hits. If you look at his minor league numbers, he's got 6 seasons where he batted like 330, 430, 415. And the whole idea, I guess, was that, well, this guy is what they called him a punch and Judy singles hitter, and he doesn't steal bases. And since he doesn't steal bases and he doesn't hit home runs, his batting average provides no value. His on-base percentage provides no value. On-base percentage wasn't even really a stat back then. And again, you go back to his numbers in the 80s. He led the league in wins above replacement. In retrospect, of course, because it was in its infancy in the early 90s. Led the league in wins above replacement 3 times, was second 3 other times, and then third, I think, 1 other time. And he didn't get a single first-place MVP vote in the 80s. And then one other guy I'll throw at you who I think was somewhat overrated during his time, but to a degree that he's now become underrated and underappreciated, and that's Nolan Ryan. I think that he gets a bad rep for being only a strikeout pitcher. When you look at his career, in which games he pitched a quality start and didn't get a win. I'm going off the top of my head, so you're going to have to forgive me if I mess up the numbers a little bit, but I'll get damn close. He had 198 no-win quality starts in which he was 0-107 with like a 2.2 ERA. So that's somebody who I also also think now is underappreciated. And those are two guys who are Hall of Famers.
Thank you very much, Ryan, for your time. For those of you listening who don't follow Ryan, you can follow him on Twitter at the Ace of Spaeder. He tweets constantly with random baseball stats, cool stats, and stats you cannot find anywhere else. Ryan, thank you once again for taking time out of your day to call us here at Midnight Mania Sports.
No, thank you guys a ton for having me, and I hope you'll have me back sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Ryan.